CBS 4, this is your news now.
Several major developments in the Delphi murders trial. Today's testimony just wrapping up in the last 30 minutes.
That includes what prosecutors call the confessions from the man accused of killing Abby Williams and Libby German. CBS 4's Max Lewis has just gotten out of the courtroom. He joins us live with more on that late testimony in the case. Good evening, Max.
Hey, good evening, Bob and Chelsea. Yeah, court wrapped up a lot earlier than we have come to expect. We had two quick witnesses at the end of the day. The last witness was Brad Weber, who owns a property near the Monon High Bridge, and the road to actually access his property goes directly under that bridge. We also learned that he drives a van, and that's going to be important. You'll hear why in just a second. He got off work the day of the murders, he said, a little after 2 o'clock and drove straight home, so he would have arrived there around 2:30. Well, why is that important? Well, because in one of Richard Allen's prison confessions that we heard today, he said he was planning to rape the girls but got spooked after he saw a van and then took them across the creek where they were found dead. Now, the defense indicated that Weber may have not actually gone home right after work as he said he did. Mr. Weber became quite angry about that. It was really the only question asked of him by defense attorney Andrew Baldwin. And then Mr. Baldwin, in a little bit of showmanship, I guess, served him with a subpoena on the witness stand in order for him to appear again when the defense presents their case. Now, we also heard from the prosecutor's investigator against Steve Mullen. He presented some new evidence that they only recently got after a juror asked a question last week during some testimony, and specifically about Mr. Allen's car, 2016 Ford Focus SE, and that model is important. The prosecution claims that is the car that they caught on a surveillance camera near the trails the day of the murders. They looked through BMV records, they said, and discovered that there is only one 2016 black Ford Focus SE registered in Carroll County, and it is registered to Richard Allen. However, there are 8 other just 2016 Ford Focuses. They all look similar, and the defense pointed out that the prosecution can't actually distinguish on that photo which model of car or the license plate or anything like that. Now, the defense also pointed out that the killer, they say, is not necessarily someone who lives in this county, but most of the day today was spent on Dr. Monica Walla, who was the psychologist up at the Westville Correctional Facility where Mr. Allen was held for more than a year. After about 5 months there, actually, he told his psychologist that he found God and wanted to confess to the murders. Dr. Walla testified that Allen told her in very specific chronological detail that as a recovering alcoholic, he drank 3 beers the days of the murder, and then he followed the girls onto the bridge and then said he messed with his gun, which is when he thinks the bullet fell out. Now, that is contradictory to where the bullet was actually found, however. He then said he ordered the girls down the hill, sought to rape them because he thought that 13-year-old Abby and 14-year-old Libby were between the ages of 11 and 18. Then that's when he said he saw the van that scared him. He forced the girls across the creek, slashed their throats. He stayed there long enough, he said, to assure that they were dead and wouldn't suffer, then covered them with tree branches and walked back to his car. Allen told his psychologist, Dr. Walla, that he had remorse and wishes he could change what had happened. He wanted to apologize to the families of the victims and his own family as well. His exact quotes to his psychiatrist were, "I didn't do everything I said I did, but I killed Abby and Libby. I just want to sign my confessions. I need to let my wife go." Now, that was what all happened before lunch. After lunch, Dr. Walla told the jury that she diagnosed Mr. Allen with a serious mental illness, as she called it, while he was in the prison confessing to the murders, and that his mental health struggles began in April of 2023. Now, that is important because that is about the time that he received hundreds and hundreds of pages of discovery from the prosecution, which the defense was quick to point out had police reports, other things that would have had details on the crime. Of course, their argument is those were what supplied the details of that pretty detailed confession, and not actually that Mr. Allen is the killer and was there. We were told at the end of the day that tomorrow we are to expect some lengthy testimony. Mr. McClellan, the prosecutor, said at the end of the day he plans to play more than 2 hours of audio. Now, didn't say specifically what that was, but what we did not really get into today was the confessions, allegedly, that Mr. Allen made on the phone with his wife and other family members. It's a good assumption that that is probably the audio we will hear. Of course, we'll be here to cover it all. We'll always have the latest on CBS4Indy.com. Bob and Chelsea, I'll send it back to you.
Hey, Max, I want to ask you, going back to that first witness, Brad Weber, what did the jury make of that connection of Richard Allen saying in his alleged confession that it was a white van that spooked him, and then that witness testifying today that he drove a white van and was indeed in that area during the time that Abby and Libby were supposedly abducted?
Yeah, I think it is important to just make a quick clarification that I actually read the exhibit and read the report from his psychologist. In his confession in prison, it did not say white van. It just said he saw a van. So I just want to make that important distinction. But it was definitely some shock in the courtroom, I would say. The jury, very took down some notes as that was being said. Obviously not a good look for the defense. We'll see how they plan to counter that. Mr. Weber, as I did say, got very angry with the first question from Mr. Baldwin. So when the defense presents his case and he comes back to the stand, it's set to probably be an interesting day in court when that happens. Guys?
And Max, talk about the difference between the confession testimony that we heard today from this psychologist and the confession testimony that we heard yesterday that was really more hearsay type of testimony. This was very, very specific, step by step, according to this psychologist, correct?
Yeah, that's right. And the confessions that we heard yesterday were from prison guards. Mr. Allen was on suicide watch for the basically 13 months that he was at Westville. So he had guards that would stand outside his cell, check on him every 15 minutes or so. They reported him saying these sort of things. The confession today was definitely the most detailed that we have heard in all of this testimony. And it was done to his psychologist, who she says she takes notes during their sessions and then types them up. So definitely a lot more detailed than the ones we heard yesterday. The ones yesterday, much more vague, basically just saying, I killed Abby and Libby. So that's the major distinction.
All right, Max Lewis reporting live from Delphi. Max, thank you for that update tonight. Our coverage continues at 5:30 when legal analyst and attorney John Tompkins will join us in our studio. You can always find the latest updates online at cbs4indy.com/Delphi. You can also click on the Delphi Murders tab right there at the top of our homepage.